And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Welcome to Odd Reality Radio, the show designed to generate thought through entertainment. Join us as we explore the strange and unexplained, the unanswered and the unbelievable on Odd Reality Radio.
An error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
Welcome to Odd Reality Radio. I'm Ty West.
I'm Joshua Ray.
I'm Jared Black.
And today we're going to be discussing prohibition, the war on drugs, and a little organization called L.E.A.P. Stick around. You're listening to Odd Reality Radio.
I'm going to talk about the harms of the drug war. The United States, our nation today, we have 5% of the world's, less than 5% of the world's population. We have almost 25% of the world's incarcerated population. You look at we lock up in America more people for violating a drug law than all of Western Europe locks up for everything. And they got 100 million more people than we do. Twice as many people getting busted for marijuana today as was true 25 years ago. If they've been arresting as many people for marijuana 25 years ago as they are now, you know who just might have gotten arrested? That guy in the White House. And that means, quite frankly, that we have to look in ourselves and in our fears and then deep down and get ourselves uncomfortable, because if we're going to uproot this from American society, it is only going to be from this critical self-examination. No matter how much we hate drugs, that the war on drugs is not the answer, that the criminalization of criminal justice is not the answer, that it is always a mistake to call in our oppressors to save ourselves from ourselves.
It would be very difficult, if not impossible, to estimate the benefit that will come to this country from the lesson taught to the coming generation, to make it their business to see that no such matter as this is ever again made the subject of federal constitutional law.
Well, I think the war on drugs in general is just a total disaster. We spend $40 billion a year, and all it does is it enhances the drug dealers. I mean, prohibition for alcohol was a disaster, and now we've done the same thing.
We are never going to be a drug-free society. There has never been a drug-free society. There never will be a drug-free society. Our challenge as human beings and communities is to accept that reality and to learn how to live with this reality so that drugs cause the least possible harm and in some cases the greatest possible good.
So, Prohibition was known as the noble experiment, according to history, the victors, according to the victors. It was the government's attempt to outlaw the production, sale, and shipment of alcohol across the country. During the 19th century, a handful of different groups and organizations pushed for prohibition based on the idea that they promote that organizations and alcohol promoted violence and godlessness. So, religious factions known as the Wets and Dries, with the Wets wanting the governments to stay out of the issues of morality, and the Dries that were basically alcohol haters. The people that are just straight up.
You pretty much don't want alcohol in your state.
Right.
Yeah. So you got a wet
Keep
state
it dry.
and a dry state.
Well, it's not even states. I mean, these are just religious organizations, the Wets and the Dries, and they played a part in it.
They're both religious, and one of them wants wet?
Yeah. One of them prefers the government stay out of our moral decisions.
Yeah, that's more likely, instead of we want booze.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yes, it has more to do with they wanted their own
choice.
Decision. Yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough.
So the 18th Amendment was the change that finally established the liquor ban, and it was proposed by the U.S. Senate in the year 1917. And in 1919, the Volstead Act was the final boot to fall, so to speak, and it enabled the liquor ban to be enforced. It subsequently identified the affected liquors and the consequences for violating any of these new laws. So that's what the Volstead Act did. It essentially is just, it was the law. It was everything that you couldn't do within the new prohibition. And prohibition actually went into effect on January 16th of 1920. And the agency responsible for enforcing these new laws was called the Prohibition Unit, later to be renamed the Bureau of Prohibition. They really like bureaus, don't they?
I wonder who was behind all the money behind the laws. Who's pushing the money? Because to get these things made into law.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's got to be oil. Because isn't there a thing where they started making it? Basically, alcohol can be used as a fuel.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something about I don't know if there was, but basically, like Standard Oil, probably. I don't know who the fuck it was. It's probably a bunch of different ones.
Well, do you remember our episode? And it was actually 1919 on the Molassacre, the Great Boston Molassacre, and why
vaguely.
they had that molasses. The reason that they were doing that is because they could distill it to weapons-grade alcohol. Remember that?
Yeah,
that's exactly
true.
what you're basically trying to get to, or at least it's something related to what it sounds like you're trying to get to.
There was a theory that they basically forced prohibition because you could use alcohol or how the distilling methods and use it to in combustion engines or whatever instead of just drinking it. I mean, that shit is powerful, dude. Moonshine?
Yeah.
You could run automobiles off of it. It's like the first biodiesel, and they're like, oh shit, maybe these guys might start making fuels.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any truth to that, but.
Well, the citizens, they strongly opposed these new prohibition laws, and they did all kinds of stuff to basically continue to drink and to oppose these laws. They would, many people simply stashed alcohol prior to the prohibition because the law itself stated that it wasn't illegal to consume alcohol. It was illegal to buy and sell and produce alcohol. But within that, there was actually some exceptions. Like you could make your own fruit-based wines. And so there was people doing that. And, but some people would just travel to nearby countries like Canada or Mexico to get drunk during the Prohibition. Some of the more peculiar ways were people began distilling industrial strength alcohol, and the government quickly decided that they couldn't have that because people were finding a way around this prohibition. So they began poisoning the industrial grade alcohol, therefore in turn poisoning tens of thousands of people, and some of them, a good number of them, died.
Man, I wish I would have done some freaking real digging on this one, because I know I could find some dirty shit on these guys as far as it being used as a fuel.
I'm sure that there's some sort of correlation.
I'm sorry, folks, I didn't do any homework. I got nothing for you.
They did use alcohol. Alcohol can be used as a fuel source.
Well, I know, but I think that's one of the reasons. Just like marijuana, it can be used as a fuel source. So you have all these things that are, prohibited that can potentially be a fuel source.
Well, all kinds of things.
Thank God we can eat corn, because we can't, outlaw vegetables. So now they turn that into a fucking fuel.
Not yet.
You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. I just think that there's something against making fuels from things that are natural and reproducing annually, like weed. You can grow it, you can't put a scarcity on weed and say, oh, we might be running out of this weed stuff because I can't see down in an oil hole, and it's about halfway. They just tell us, oh, we're running out. Price starts going up, oh shit, we're running out of oil. Yeah. You can't run out of that kind of shit. You can't scare people and say, oh, the energy crisis. Yeah, you have all these other options. Like, I just think that there's probably a part of that, part of prohibition.
It makes sense based on what was going on at the time, and unfortunately, what's still going on today. It would make sense if it was tied to everything that's going on with the drug war now. But at the time, we had gangsters like Al Capone and Bugs Moran, and they became extremely wealthy because of all this prohibition. And that's something that we can learn.
Well, they also became rivals too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And later on in the story, we'll find out what happened there. With these two, they capitalized, and more specifically, Al Capone made millions, allegedly, on his speakeasies and bootlegging operations, things like that. He became extremely wealthy because of prohibition, and they both ran bootleg alcohol production, which led later on to what some people say is one of the reasons why prohibition was lifted. Aside from the population, and our society just didn't want it. There was no need for prohibition, according to a common man.
Well, wasn't it already kind of like a common thing that people would just have a drink after work and all this, and then they decided, oh, wait, let's not allow this?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't, I don't see how that would ever survive if you already allowed it and then you took it away.
Right.
But,
well, in 1929, like I was saying, they had this this infamous St. Valentine's Day massacre, in which several members of Bugs Moran's mob were gunned down by Capone's gang, allegedly.
Well, they were impersonated as cops too.
Right, that's right.
They looked like cops, and they arrested them, and then they gunned them down.
That's right.
So, long story short, prohibition made those guys super wealthy, able to buy guns and arm themselves well enough to fucking take on the police and everything.
And I bet that their uniforms weren't fakes either. I bet they were able to purchase,
some people don't care if
with the Roaring 20s.
If you see an opportunity and it's illegal and there's a huge demand for it, people are still going to try to profit off of that demand, and that's exactly what happened here.
It's like when they say if they said turn in all your guns. Right? And there's a lot of honest citizens that are like, they just, okay, well, the government says no more guns. I guess we got to turn in our guns. So they all turn in their guns. Do you think all the criminal element that we have would be handing in their guns? They're the ones who keep their guns. They're the ones who are like, fuck that, I'm not turning in my guns. And so you leave the most violent offenders.
Well, the honest criminals would.
The violent people with all the guns, So it's the same kind of concept, really.
Yeah, but anybody can find a firearm if they're adamant enough. or audacious.
Well, it doesn't.
And anybody
It's
can
not
find
about
a bottle of beer,
right?
If they really wanted
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you have a permit or not.
So you always have the people who say, you know what, I disagree. I'm doing what I want.
Well, and that's what, the point we're all trying to get to here with the prohibition is that the masses, everybody was resistant, and it basically was non-existent by 1933. People had just, opposed it, and in this St. Valentine's Day massacre definitely helped in the lifting of the prohibition.
They probably liked it at first, like, the crime rate's going to go down. There's not going to be as much domestic violence and all that shit. And people thought the crime rate was going to go down, but it actually did quite the opposite.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. The crime rate during Prohibition, it jumped violently fast. And it was something that was undeniable. And that's another reason why. Pretty much
ushered in the introduction of like the modern day gangster, man.
You got a whole bunch of people forced to detox, dude. Yeah, they're pissed off. Of course, there's going to be violence, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, I can't even imagine
a lot of the
that
Southern
today.
groups that were promoting the prohibition in the first place, they assumed that the lifting of prohibition was going to basically get rid of the Hank that goes home and beats his wife after going to the saloon after work or whatever. And that the exact opposite happened. Crime went up. Sure, drinking went down, but just because you take it away doesn't mean you've won as far as that stat.
I bet you it did save a couple little old ladies' faces, though.
I'm sure it
I'm
did.
pretty sure that there was a couple guys that weren't hitting the bottle, and weren't hitting their lady, too. I mean, I bet there was some pros to it, but I don't think there's hardly any.
Right. And that's
but that's like rare cases. Like, not everybody gets drunk and beats their women, but there are some people who do get blasted stupid, and maybe they would probably beat them even if they weren't drunk, though.
People are going to get drunk anyway.
Yes, and the same thing with drugs that we'll talk about in a minute. And with this, the support had dwindled by 1933, and that's when the Blaine Act was passed in the Senate in an effort to instigate the repeal of the 18th Amendment, which was followed by an act called the Colin-Harrison Act that was designed to repeal the Volstead Act, enforced just 13 years prior. So finally, on December 5th, 1933, the 21st Amendment repealed the 18th Amendment, therefore ratifying prohibition and giving individual states the rights to construct laws that fit each demographic accordingly. And Utah dropped the ball. 3.2? What the fuck? God damn it.
What do you mean Utah dropped the ball?
3.2%. Now we have fatter drunks that have to spend more money to get that way.
Exactly.
In my opinion, maybe an ignorant one, but you know what? I don't even drink that much, but I still think that 3.2% is a shitty way to control or to assume control of something.
I think if it was up to this state, prohibition would probably still exist in this state. If it was up to different groups, Probably prohibition would probably still exist.
Well, we're not the only state with 3.2% alcohol. I believe Indiana is one, and there's another one too, and I don't know off the top of my head. It's up on the East Coast, northeast coast. But
wonder what they're going to do when they finally allow marijuana. How they're going to shrink those amounts so they can make 3 times as much off the same sale.
Yeah. No shit. Well,
10%
dude,
more than them.
If it happens in my lifetime, and I honestly, that's something that's strange. Is I never thought that we'd be seeing what's going on.
That was legalized here, medicinal use, some kind of, I don't know if it's pain management or I can't remember exactly what it was for, but it's a specific use. So I don't think it's pain because pain covers pretty much broken backs to, whatever.
Well,
just fucking take a pill.
Before I forget, let's wrap up with the prohibition. With the end of prohibition, the economy saw an increase and violent crime went right back down. So that's a good indicator that prohibition was not a good thing. That's just a couple of obvious things. which, I feel it says more about the ability to choose for ourselves and how much that affects a human's mind and a reaction.
You think this, like the stock market crash of 1929 had played into an effect of repealing prohibition?
I don't know. I didn't look into the stock market crash, but the stock market crash of 1929, I think that it had something to do with prohibition, because some say that the black market actually took the biggest hit, because when prohibition was lifted, they didn't have the industry that they had built underground. Speakeasies weren't illegal.
Wow,
they were just a bar now. So, I mean,
it's just a very crazy time to think about compared to today.
Definitely. But in just 13 years, we learned that prohibition was a monster failure, and in some political circles, they even admitted to the lack of the success and how it may serve us in the future. Well, I think the future that they're referencing is right now. The guy that it came out after and explained how, prohibition was essentially a failure, and we need to learn from this situation. They basically were speaking to what I feel like is our situation right now. We've got, in our lifetime, we're seeing things that I've debated would never happen in my lifetime. Just 5-6 years ago, I swore up and down that we would never see marijuana be legalized in any sort of form in this country until after I was dead. And even 5 years ago, I was still, and not that I'm against or for it right away, but I just assumed that it would never become something that would be on the ballot, at least not this soon. And here we are. We've got 4 states, and up to 5 if you count Maine, because Maine has actually legalized it.
Colorado and Washington, right?
Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and like I was about to say, Maine also legalized it within the city limits of Portland and South Portland.
So when you
2.5 ounces is legal for recreational use.
When you say legalize, does that mean I can just go puff a J like
you can, even though you're out of state? Anyone can. It's like buying a beer at a bar. Do you need an out of state license to go buy a beer in California?
No.
Do you need to have a special license to buy a keg in Wyoming? It's the same thing. That's something that's.
No, I mean though, on a legal level, can I go? If I lived in Colorado, can I just burn one up in my house?
Yeah.
Well, definitely in your house, but there are limits. Like
absolutely.
You can't just like go in 7-Eleven burning one, but you can't do that with a cigarette either.
You can't do that with an alcoholic beverage either.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's basically you just. I get what you're shadow the laws
where you could
with
smoke
everything
a cigarette,
else.
Where you could smoke a cigarette, you could smoke a joint.
People are going to get drunk and fucked up anyway,
right?
Whether the laws are legal in that state or not. I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, I don't want to worry about getting in trouble. So if I lived in one of those states, would I be able to just, smoke on a recreational level?
Absolutely. And like I was trying to explain.
Do they allow? Is it for recreational?
Yes.
Only
is it scheduled?
In Colorado, isn't it?
So it's not a schedule.
They're all recreational.
Washington, Alaska, all of this, and you can grow up not medicinal only. I looked this up today to find out which ones. We have 23 states with medicinal laws of medicinal use of marijuana,
and that would be. Are we included in that list?
No.
That's weird because there's one form.
Of course not.
There is, and that's probably at least on the list I saw. And I was thinking about that because I was curious because I thought about that as well. I thought we did have one that was actually one that we approved it for kids, right?
Yeah, that's what it seemed.
And we were the first one to do it, which was really strange. Yeah, and it was for the Charlotte's Web or whatever, the CBD high.
I can't remember what it was for particularly.
Anyway, we may be one of the 24th or whatever, but every year now. And every election, I feel like we're going to have some marijuana-related thing on the ballot. We have, I think it was Florida, they were at 58 of 60% that they needed to even get it on the ballot. They're next to legalize it. I mean, to completely recreationally legalize it. And the point that I'm trying to get at is that
what 24? That's almost.
If Utah really is included in that would be medicinal only.
But we have 5.
But we have 5, including Maine, and I'm throwing Maine in there because within the city limits of Portland and South Portland, you can have up to 2.5 ounces.
Isn't that 10%? 5?
5, yeah.
Isn't that what they say you need? 10% of the
Population
population or whatever to change something? Isn't that where it starts?
Well, we're on the cusp,
revolution,
dude. We're
something like that.
just to be fair, we're at like 9.5 or 9.75 as far as the legalization and that goes. Because it's not fully legal, but Washington, D.C. just approved it. But they're not a state, so they're fucking with us on the stats there with the whole 10%.
So I think this is probably the argument that I would think everybody would make. Well, what's next? Like, is it going to be cocaine? Is it going to be methamphetamine?
That's something that we'll talk about.
Cocaine was legal in the early 20th century.
But a lot of things were. It was used in Coca-Cola and all that
used
too.
To be legal.
All of it, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, then all of it was used together at one time in medicines and things. You find old labels of medicines used in the early 1900s.
Well, back then, I have a headache. Oh, have some Coke.
So what do you think? Do you think that we should, I guess probably jumping way far ahead.
No.
The fact that our society has decriminalized all of this is the point that I'm trying to make. I think that our society has already done what our government is playing catch up to do. That's how I feel. I feel like the average citizen understands that pot is not the demon that the DARE program made it out to be. That's exactly what I feel. And why in the hell would we do that? Why would they lead us into this perception that, of course, you see somebody on crack, it can fuck with you. I mean, somebody methed out. We were just talking about this before we hit record, and we've interacted with people on methamphetamine.
Don't you remember Reefer Madness and Harry Anslinger, the guy who kind of instigated the illegal use of marijuana?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you brought him up
in the 30s. So
it was a personal thing as far as I knew with him. It was more personal with him.
They'd smoke, like in the movie, they'd smoke like a green joint, and they'd like go all crazy and kill their mom.
Ravenous.
Like, ridiculous.
Serial killer status instantly. Exactly.
That's a good example of.
That's exactly what it is. I've never met anybody who smoked a J and started punching anybody.
No.
Ever.
No.
But the other, like you said, the DARE program and scaring people with, scaring them away from weed and calling it the gateway drug and all that. I think it's almost insulting to your intelligence to call that a gateway drug, but allow alcohol and cigarettes to be sold.
Yeah.
It's like cigarettes are highly, highly, highly fucking addictive, and they do give you a little buzz. Now, you don't think that's a gateway to getting a bigger buzz and something more addictive? It's like, come on. Fucking think about it for 2 seconds.
Alcohol could be the introduction. It's the major gateway.
Those two right there are what are the start. That's here. 21.
What about
have at it? See what else you can find afterwards.
If you just here in the state of Utah, you got prescription drugs. We're the #1 state with prescription drug use too. That's another gateway if you want to walk into gateway.
Fuck, those are the end of the damn tunnel, man. Those are not the gateway, bro. Those are the fucking end.
That's true, but how many people do you know that were, not necessarily like religious, but more?
I think cannabis is a gateway for some people. It can be,
but it's not legal. So what would be more likely? Is
propaganda in itself.
What would be more likely to be gateway? Something that's legal and says, "Oh, well, my dad smokes, and maybe I'll try it," and then that's the gateway. Something that gets you into that kind of catching a buzz, smoking. It's addictive. No, it's not, because it's legal in the government's eyes. That's why you would look at it and say, well, it's not as bad as marijuana because the government says it's okay. Yeah, that's a gateway drug. That's like saying
the same thing. They stimulate your brain. Oh, I like
but
this.
Not to the same capacity,
I want to feel a stronger version of this. I'm going to start popping pills.
So what would a cigarette be? A stronger version of a cigarette be?
A fucking joint, dude.
Oh shit! We hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Well, for over 4 decades, the American people
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I agree then.
For over 4 decades, the American people have been dealing with being drugged through, and no pun intended, being drugged through this pathetic drug war, which has costed us $40 billion taxpayer dollars just last year alone. Now, Today, we have roughly 500,000 Americans who are imprisoned for drug-related offenses. In 1980, that number was 50,000.
From 50,000 to what now?
500,000.
Jeez.
I wonder why they don't want to make these things legal.
Well, aren't these people getting incarcerated for like having small amounts of narcotics on them?
Some of the time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that's what it is majority of the time for some people.
Well, and another thing that I heard that was interesting is the amount of women being thrown into jail since this whole drug war, thanks to Nixon in 71 and his idea of this drug war. Since then, the amount of women being incarcerated has gone up like 400% or something, and just keeps growing. And why is it? What's the number one offense of women in prison? Drug-related offenses.
A choice somebody made.
Mm-hmm. A non-violent choice that was not affecting
their body.
Yeah. That's something that's just irritating to me. Well, I guess it comes as no surprise then when I say that the United States operates the largest and most lucrative prison system on the entire planet.
Privatized prison system as well.
Absolutely. And criminal justice is the third largest growth industry in the last 20 years, and it's become a legitimate commodity in the investment world and on Wall Street. That's not...
Well, it's almost like our government and these corporations are working together.
Exactly what it's like.
That's what that sounds like that's what you're saying.
Working together or wearing the same pair of pants?
Yeah, they're working together and wearing the same pair of pants.
Well, the amount of people charged yearly with marijuana-related charges alone for possession of an herb, a plant, it's over 750,000 a year. Now, how many of these people are behind bars? I wasn't able to find out specifically. Marijuana-related, just in the short time that I had, I couldn't find it. But this should all tell us something about the state of law enforcement and the agenda of creating revenue, subsequently criminalizing non-criminals. There's, a gentleman and a former cop and homicide detective who was also a member of the organization L.E.A.P, which is Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. William Vandergraff is his name. He said something in the middle of an interview on Dan Zubanski's radio program, True Murder. And the quote was, "It's easier to recover from addiction than it is to recover from a criminal conviction." That's a fucked up statement because it's true. That's our society saying, that's our government saying that their interests are not in people's health and wellness, but in industrialization of this prison system.
Here's the problem. Here's what we do. We don't, that's the thing. When we incarcerate people, we don't try to fix their problem. We kind of just throw them in jail
and fine them,
and
we charge them for it.
So that's what the authorities need to do.
But on top of charging them, we're charging us too. Mm-hmm. We're paying for these prisons.
Exactly.
Well, it is a problem. People do have drug problems.
Well,
and they need to find a way to help these people.
Whose problem is that drug problem?
It's the individuals, and that's the thing that this group is trying to get across.
We don't have socialized medicine. We don't have, none of this.
Exactly. Well, across the pond in the UK, they've got an estimated 50 to 75,000 inmates incarcerated for marijuana-related charges alone.
Yeah, but
so it's not
their population. They don't have as many people out there. Sure, we have a larger population here,
but look at the number, though. 75,000 people.
Daunting number.
And they're at a different set of laws. They're in a different.
So these are people
structure
who are busted just for smoking bud.
Marijuana related. Maybe they were selling a bit of bud. Maybe they were buying bud. Maybe they were smoking it. Maybe they were cooking it. I don't know.
Like as a huge detriment to our society compared to alcohol.
In comparison, hell no. I think alcohol does a hell of a lot more damage.
If I burn one, I just want to fall asleep, relax. I don't get all pissy or.
Well, think about this. I'm I saw a quote on
They need to
one of
study
the
it more,
websites that I was doing research on, and I'll have.
They've studied the fuck out of it. It's just they don't want to.
They don't want to release
It
the
just
truth.
has a different
really.
effects on everybody.
Well, I was looking at this, a couple of comments on this a legalization page earlier, and there was a gentleman that posted something to the effect of, I'm a 30-year-old man. I play 3 instruments. I have an IQ of 138, and I tested when I was under the influence. I feel good. I look good. Now, try to do any of these things while under the influence of alcohol or prescription drugs, etc. His point was, I've smoked weed for the last 15 or 20 years, and it hasn't smashed my life to pieces. I'm still fine. I look good. I feel good. The point is alcohol, the legal alternative, has done so much more damage, but it's the legal alternative. It's a frustrating concept for somebody like myself who I don't know. I know people who have dealt with marijuana-related issues and offenses, and I feel like it's really more about revenue than it ever would be about fixing a problem. Like that quote from the gentleman, it's easier to cure an addiction than it is to recover from a conviction. That's something that's scary as hell to me.
Why?
Why?
What do you mean conviction? Like
a conviction? Okay, so for instance, there's a gentleman who was convicted of
going to
a crime.
Okay,
whether they did anything or not. Say somebody, drove a car to the wrong place and pulled up and had, got
wrong
charged.
Place, wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time. You got charged with a crime that is forever going to fuck with you. You'll never recover. You may never recover thanks to our...
Fill out your next job application and
good
think about
luck.
I have a pretty funny story. I had moss stuck in my coat one time and it fell out of my coat, and this cop started bending my arm, and I was all like, what are you doing, man? That's moss, bro. And the cop didn't apologize. He was just like, oh, okay.
He didn't apologize?
No.
Did you get his badge number? Did you call his mom?
No, but this is
you should have.
This is years ago, but we were hiking, and I guess somebody, as a joke, he was throwing moss at me, and the moss ended up falling into my coat sleeve, and we went to the grocery store. We got pulled over for some reason, and as I got out of the car, this looks like a big green nug just fell out of my coat. And the cop thought I had butt on me and started just
when he confiscated it, he was like, wow, you don't even keep it in a baggie?
That's moss, dude.
You're like, no, bro. I just keep it in my fucking pockets.
But yeah, I was just
keeping my weed away from all those petroleum-based products, man.
Yeah, dude, I just go green, I don't want to waste the environment with another plastic baggie.
Yeah, dude, I'm trying to save the environment here.
That's right.
Save the moss. Yeah, it's pretty funny though.
Well, I feel like the war on drugs is seemingly just a stretched out version of prohibition. I feel like it's what we learned about how not to do things with prohibition, we seem to be ignoring in the taxpayers. We continue to fill the pockets of the rich.
We continue to fund the cartels in Mexico and give them so much money. They're taking over a country because we are prohibiting drugs to be used here and sold and taxed here, where we could collect all of that money.
That's excellent point,
and we just funnel all of that money over to this other country where they are doing horrific things to people because of this drug trade, man.
Haven't we seen positive results since we've legalized it in Denver or in Colorado and Washington?
Yeah.
Haven't we, as far as the marijuana?
Substantial losses of money
due to the cartels?
Yeah.
Yes.
What about California? Is it legal there? Weed?
It's decriminalized. It's extremely decriminalized, but it's not legal, not yet.
I mean,
and we're not the only ones who see the trend where this money's going.
Well, look what Pablo Escobar did to Colombia. He pretty much had the government in his
Don't you
pocket.
think there's some guy up there that runs census or some shit? He just counts heads and what's going on, where the drugs and just doing some kind of fucking research on what's happening, and they haven't figured this out. So wait, we need to stop that, because of course they have. They know all this money's going over there. Why aren't they stopping it? Do they want the money to go over there? That's the question, is because obviously it seems like they're funding a fucking
Americans
war
are funding
over there
cartels
with our drug money.
Well, and
I mean, that's kind of the...
some reports are saying that we're not only doing that, but we're also supplying munitions, and that's another
I know
story
it's not
for
a real
another
war,
thing,
but I mean, it's definitely
it's
warlike.
It's as real as you could get.
Yeah.
People are dying at the hands of, some fucking ignorant...
Why do you think we have people jumping the border left and right trying to get over here to this place? Because it's chaos over there. And I don't blame them. If I lived over there too, I'd run like hell.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not a safe place. It's not somewhere I would want to call home. I think that what we're dealing with right now, like I said, it's just this stretched out version of prohibition, and we could do so many beneficial things. And there's an organization of retired politicians, ex-police officers, retired police officers, and former members of government that have come together to end prohibition of all drugs. Now, I know that sounds like a bit of a radical concept, but the reasons why these individuals say that these drugs should be legal are actually a lot like what we've been discussing. Josh made a damn good point that isn't even on their list of reasons. And the cartels are fucking winning because we want to continue to snub our noses at
they pretty much
people's
own
choices.
that country based on our sales revenues for them,
It's disgusting. Well,
I asked my parents, because I was talking about this a little bit, like the drugs and prohibition. I asked them, I was like, well, if they legalized all drugs, what do you have against that? Well, then people would start doing crack and heroin and stuff. And I was like, well, Mom,
people already do.
If it was legalized and I came over here with just a whole bunch of drugs, I said, Mom, take your pick. You can do whatever you want now. You want some heroin? You want some crack cocaine? And she's like, I wouldn't do it. Of course you wouldn't do it, because you don't want to do drugs. That's a choice that you just get to make now.
Absolutely.
And she's like, oh, you have a good point. I'm like, of course I do.
It's a wonderful point. Yes, that's an excellent example of a positive argument for why we should let people make their own fucking choices. We seem to do better as a community or as a society as a whole when we're able to make those decisions independently. And I feel like not everybody's going to make the same choice, but that's the fucking beauty of it. We're all going to make mistakes. Let us make them in our own ways. There's this group of gentlemen by the name of L.E.A.P, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And they basically say that the reason that we should legalize drugs is because, and I quote from their website, we believe that the drug prohibition is the true cause of much of the social and personal damage that has historically been attributed to drug use. It is prohibition that makes these drugs so valuable, while giving criminals a monopoly over their own supply. Driven by the huge profits from this monopoly, criminal gangs bribe and kill each other, as well as us, along the way, law enforcers, and children. Their trade is unregulated, and they are, therefore, beyond our control. History has shown that drug prohibition reduces neither use nor abuse. After a rapist is arrested, there are fewer rapes. After a drug dealer is arrested, however, neither the supply nor the demand for drugs is seriously changed. The arrest merely creates a job opening for an endless stream of drug entrepreneurs who will take huge risks for the sake of enormous profits created by prohibition. Prohibition costs taxpayers tens of billions of dollars every year, yet 40 years and some 40 million arrests later, drugs are cheaper, more potent, and far more widely used than at the beginning of this futile crusade. And it continues on with awesome, reasons why, but...
So what should we do then?
I feel like
Just
we should...
legalize everything?
I feel like we should legalize, and what I mean by that is I feel like we should regulate and educate. Start with that.
So what gets you an Oxycontin? That's heroin. So how do you get that drug?
Well, you sweet talk a doctor if you have tits.
Or you just go in there and you tell them your problems, and then that's what they give it to you for. That's
true. Some doctors just really want to write the script.
I mean, well, that's what I'm saying though. Is like, how is that any different? Because if that was on the street, which it is, it's not regulated on the street. It's sold just to anybody who's got $80 or whatever the fuck it costs.
That's true.
And so, what's the difference? It's a drug versus a drug. How can we take care of it? How do we handle it? Just the same way we handle all these other fucking drugs.
I feel like we could open up, say for instance, like in the UK, I was saying earlier, the UK is actually considered and is enforcing using heroin to get people off of heroin, and it's working. I think that we should. And I feel like, okay, and not necessarily because people need to use heroin to get off heroin, but for the reasons that we've got, entheogens? Entheogens are being used in South America right now with fucking tremendous results for people getting off of all kinds of opiate addictions, alcohol addictions, simple stuff like cigarettes. I mean, it's not simple. It does ruin lives. It kills people, but it's more simple in comparison to the fucking addictions that we're supplementing for, prescriptions. Shit like that. People are getting off of all of this stuff with the use of ibogaine, with ayahuasca, with psilocybin. Cancer patients that are dying are using psilocybin
or organically derived drugs
to get rid of the anxiety and the fear.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. This is things. I mean, these are things that we have. We classify these as this is a extremely dangerous drug. It's extremely dangerous. Well, what's dangerous about it is putting it in the fucking regulated hands that it's in my opinion. Because then it becomes, like we've all just read and found out and heard, it's a monopoly that we can't touch because it's illegal. And not that we should be making money on heroin, but I think there's more money to be made on things that do benefit us. And I think there's a lot of fucking money to be made on things that could benefit us not only in like a recreational use with marijuana, but think of all the other applications for it. You've got
there's a ton
homes that are being built with it. That there's just so many.
The Model T, I believe, was most like the fenders and everything was like kind of like a carbon fiber, I guess, of marijuana.
Yes.
And then yeah, but it was like carbon fiber. It was like, I don't know, it's maybe not like carbon fiber, but a material strong like that,
super strong,
not metal, not plastic,
and natural.
And they also, I believe, it ran on biofuel from cannabis. What are we calling it? What's the proper hemp cannabis?
Yeah.
Does that sum it all up?
Greenery,
flowers?
Natural fucking stuff.
I guess it's flowers now. I don't know.
But it's harmless. It's not the demon that we all heard dare tell us it was.
The plastics and all these, things like your little freaking computer stands that are plastic and all these things that you look at in your house that are plastic. Those could be changed into the same thing using marijuana or cannabis or whatever the fuck.
Materials that are being used to make that stuff.
Yeah,
but naturally biodegradable, something that's not going to leave a mark.
Plastics are oil-based.
Yeah, exactly.
Petroleum-based.
And that's one of the reasons all of this stuff is they wouldn't want something that can to take their place.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like can something else? Can you grow it really fast like a weed? Can you like grow lots of it and make lots of it? Yeah, of course you can, dude. It's an amazing fucking plant. You could do all kinds of things like we were talking about.
Yeah, except you can't grow it and sell it in mass quantities, or else you go to prison.
I mean, don't do that, but make a car out of it. I don't know.
I think that if we lifted the prohibition, that we would see all kinds of things. I think that it would reveal more about humans and what they wouldn't do than what people assume that we would do. And I feel like the more that we give people options of their own, we seem to make better ones, at least in my experience. When I'm given more responsibility and freedom at my job, I seem to do a really good job. But when I have somebody micromanaging the shit out of me, I just want to fuck off. I don't want to do work because I don't need somebody fucking barking down my neck telling me how much better I need to do my job when I'm already putting everything into it. That's not the kind of thing I want somebody telling me about my time off. I go and I pay my fucking taxes.
It's just kind of like, I guess you would have judgment with it. It's just like, say, if you here, you buy beer.
Yeah.
And the bishop's walking in right as you're walking out. You know damn well he knows there's beer in there, and I know he's not buying it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not any different. You know, it's a choice. And you would probably just have more judgment from people. You know, it's like, oh, he bought marijuana cigarettes, you know,
right.
or whatever. But it's not any different than when you buy a pack of beer.
But I feel like even in time,
here, I guess that's where you get the judgment because it's super LDS and all that. But in other places where people are cool, probably don't have that so much. But
well, I think that even that looking at you with the stink, I think that even that would fade after a while. And I don't think that it would be too long because I think that, you know, we've already seen after a year in Colorado and a year in Washington State that people don't murder each other when marijuana is legal. I mean, I saw 3 grandmas smoking a bong for the first time ever on the internet, and it was one of the funniest, most interesting things I've ever seen. For
her glaucoma or some shit?
No, it was 3 grandmas that just wanted to smoke pot, and because it was legal in Washington State, they did it, and they allowed themselves to be filmed. And the funny thing is one of the ladies made a fucking really clear point and said, oh, I could see all kinds of benefits from this. My shoulders feel looser, and, you know, and they had fun, they laughed. There was no negativity whatsoever.
It's great.
It just shattered the whole demonized misconception that DARE provided.
I know, man. The world's lucky those ladies didn't start raping white women.
Well, they were white women.
I know.
We're lucky we didn't start raping themselves.
I don't know. It's no, it's
from the movies that they saw in their childhood.
Propaganda's so fucking old. I don't think anybody even knows that shit. But
well, dude, I think that Reefer Madness has become more of a joke. It's something to get stoned and watch and laugh at than it has any fucking brevity in the sense that it was originally made to have. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well. You know, like these gentlemen who've seen these effects on our criminal justice system firsthand, I feel like we should continue to support these guys with the Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. If you want to learn more about them from their website, the website is www.leap.cc. That's L.E.A.P.cc. And they've got all kinds of information. They have, you know, they'll have speakers. They have all kinds of information on why they say legalize drugs, who is a part of this. There's over 3,500 individuals who are members of or were former members of law enforcement in some way or government in some way who fully believe that we should lift all of this prohibition. And we've established through a couple of the facts and statistics throughout today's show that there's a lot of reasons why it would make sense to do something that drastic in some ways. I mean, even for me to hear and to talk about it, it's still, I mean, it does sound extreme. It does. But when you pick it apart and you actually put it together in a common sense setting, it makes enough sense for it to work. And I think that a lot of the reasons that we haven't tried it is last week's episode with Ebola. We discussed that the medical industry pharmaceutical industry loves
profit.
It's drugs. Yeah. They don't love cures. They love treatment and
love profit
and money. Yeah. Revenue.
Gotta get that money.
Well, I think that we should continue to support these gentlemen. And for those of you that want to support us here at Odd Reality Radio, you can do so by hitting us up on Facebook.com/Odd Reality Radio. You can find us on Twitter at Odd Reality Radio, as well as the website, which is bit.do/Odd Reality Radio.
Bit.do.
And for those of you who want Jared's personal phone number, it is area code. I'm just
555.
No, definitely check us out. Send us an email at info@oddrealityradio.com. Please tell us what you think. Do you think that legalizing drugs as a whole would be beneficial? Why or why not? Let us know what your thoughts are. And also, if you have any ideas about what we should cover on the show, please send those in as well. Once again, it's info@oddrealityradio.com. And on that note, I think that we should continue to investigate life through the lens of possibility. I'm Ty West.
I'm Joshua Ray.
Jared Black.
Take care.
Peace.
Have a good one.
So have you ever been Black Friday shopping?
Oh, no, man. I've avoided it at all costs, dude.
You've never ever been?
No, dude. To face the Christmas zombies, man. They're just
The Christmas zombies.
No way, dude.
So explain the zombies.
Dude, have you seen them? How it's a horde, for one. And then when one of them has something, that's like a live thing or something, then they just kill for that one and trample each other.
The Tickle Me Elmo or the insert your latest toy here.
I don't know. They're
the
just
Tamagotchi.
There's just crazy people caught up in
Dude, I went out
madness.
once. I went out once, and that was enough for me.
No, I've never done it.
You're not missing anything, I tell you what. It's definitely something that people have to enjoy people, and I don't like people enough to get the hell out there. I don't know. I went once, and I think it was last year, but we went through, and there was disgusting amounts. Like you said, there really is Christmas zombies out there. I never really interpreted it that way, but I experienced it.
The experience of Christmas for me is, totally different. Like, I'm trying to think of how to explain it. Like how everybody's like, they give, and they get in that spirit of giving, but then they they drive around and act like these total fucking assholes, and everybody's in their way, and fucking, it's like, dude,
in order to get the things to give.
All this craziness, and they act like assholes, and they I had it first, and all this crazy. I don't know. It's just the spirit's all lost there.
That's a really good point.
That's what it feels like shopping, at least with the Christmas zombies.
I see it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I don't like crowds very much. I got a bit of a social adversity to large amounts of people, especially stupid people, and that whole zombie mentality, I think that's probably what best explains why I'm afraid. I just don't like, it just seems like you're out there, you're in that type of a situation for what? A couple of fucking bucks off of a plastic toy that is going to get busted ass 2 days after Christmas, so that you can please a kid with material instead of an actual thoughtful gift that's going to be something that they can use. It just, it's not really my thing, the whole Black Friday shopping. Sure, it would be nice to go get a 50-inch TV for $218 at Walmart, but I guess I'll wait till January when they're $340 or whatever, or $300 if I really need a TV.
No, isn't it the funniest though? It's like right after Thanksgiving, they should just call it Super Greed Day. Like, thanks for giving. Now I want. That's like, you should have never gave these motherfuckers stuff, because now they're super greedy,
dude. And they're bleeding over into Thanksgiving. They're raping the holiday itself.
I know, but it's almost comical though. Like Thanksgiving and then Greed Day. It's insanity.
We should go out with some GoPros, dude, and film the insanity just from a third-person point of view, just to see who gets the best footage.
Yeah, what time is free?
Fuck, I don't know, dude. It'd be exciting, huh?
Yeah, sounds fun.
People watching. That's really all it would be. I don't give a fuck about the sales.
Oh, dude, I don't know.
I just want to watch the idiots.
Even get a spot, dude. Without. Yeah, no, I don't want to do it.
See, I don't. We would have to take somebody. We'd have to get a chauffeur.
It could be funny though.
Let's get Jared to drive. No, I don't think Black Friday's on our list of things to do. My wife likes it, and if she's more tolerant of people though, so she's good at it. She's small, she can sneak in and out of things. I don't worry about her in a time of chaos because she's elusive.
Yeah, my girlfriend does it too, but there's no way I'd go with her. Only Black Friday shopping I'll do is like online.
Oh yeah,
the parking's good.
Oh, dude, I usually have a bowl of cereal in my lap, and I'm not wearing pants, and that's the way that I like to shop. I always get kicked out of Walmart because they're like, you can't have food. They're like, quit pouring yourself bowls of cereal, asshole.
Don't mention the awful fucking clothing you're wearing.
No, dude. They're usually really nice.
You can't have food in here.
It's Walmart, dude. They just assume
I know, that's funny.
They're usually cool with it. Yeah, I don't think we're missing out much though. I do look forward to stuff in my face. Hopefully some of these Christmas zombies actually start eating each other.
That'd be nice. No, it wouldn't. Man, why the fuck are these people are so caught up in this dead slavery? They don't even realize it. Like, they see shiny shit and they run for the doors, and then they fucking have this big old ass bell that they ring every 25th of fucking December every fucking year, and they just come running with their fucking charge cards and fucking more debt.
Well, and we've got layaway now too.
What the fuck is wrong with us? Why are we doing this?
Because we're all...
Who's fucking really telling you what to do, man? It's like the news and all that. They've had the fucking... There's a YouTube clip of like them all saying some exact same thing over and over and over. It's okay if you buy a thing or 2 or 10, and it's that exact same thing over and over. Like at least 20 fucking
across
reporters.
The news, the boards. I mean, we're talking nationwide, different news outlets.
Wonder why people are just running out. What the fuck is this holiday even about? Is it about fucking buying shit? Because that's not what I was taught when I was a kid.
No,
but. I heard about this Jesus Christ dude Yeah, there's something to that too, but that doesn't say anything about fucking going crazy and spending all your money.
No.
I don't understand where our belief system comes in Christmas.
Well, and I hear this. I've been hearing an ad on one of my radio apps that was saying something along the lines of, you know, how we put together a CD for Christmas, the holidays, and Black Friday, and they threw that in there like it was part of the fucking group, and it's now turning into a holiday itself.
Yeah,
it's the latest extra holiday that we can. Oh man, it's a pretty disgusting one. The zombies analogy is a good way to call it, because people put their brains away for an entire day and act like fucking selfish idiots, greedy, selfish, mindless idiots. And I'm sure as hell glad I'm gonna be here, not there.
Yeah.
Come Black Friday.
You know, it would be nice. You know what? They could probably make a fortune selling like pay-per-view Walmart video. You know, so you could tap into
live
their
feeds,
live feeds of their camera
shit.
system, right?
See, and I'd want to get like,
I'd
want to get like
chaos.
New York because of the variety of people, and I want to get give me coast to
They
coast.
should do that.
We need to look into this. Let's start live linking this shit, and we'll start charging people for our page. Every Black Friday, dude, we sit back, we earn money just by clicking go.
Yeah, that would be tight, dude.
Alright, we better cut this out so nobody else steals this wonderful idea. Anyway, you gotta get home, and I'm gonna get this thing edited so that we can have an episode up on time.